Welcome to 100 Yards Football this morning. I'm Vincent Turner, your host, and today we got a special. We're going to have our NFL Draft Prospect Special. The player that we're going to highlight today is Aidan Hutchison, defensive end out of the University of Michigan. So if you like the video this morning, please comment and share. We'll surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards of Football. Now, let's talk about this great football player from the University of Michigan. We all know about Michigan's role as far as producing great football players. The history of the schools goes by none. At one time in the history of college football, they had the most victories of any school in the country. And think about all the great players that played at the University of Michigan. Tom Harmon back in the 1940s. Dan Dierdorf. Tom Darton. Help me out, Jesus. Desmond Howard. Ty Law. Lamar Woodley. Steve Hutchinson. And the great Charles Woodson and Anthony Carter. I don't have to say no more why Michigan is one of those top programs in the country. And this year, they won the Big Ten, and they're going to be in the college football playoffs, taking on the University of Georgia. But a guy that's made this happen is Mr. Aidan Hutchison. He's probably, outside Will Anderson at the University of Alabama, has been the best defensive player in the country. And think about this. The young man was coming off a serious injury in 2020 when he only played 3 games. The start of the season, he was a middle of a second-round pick. But right now, he's been extended an offer to be in New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. And it's no doubt he might have been the best football player in the country, and he might be the number 1 overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. But let's talk about the young man as a player. The first thing is talk about his skill set. When you talk about power, A+. You talking about speed, A+. You talking about hands, A+. You're talking about elite, having natural ability, A+. You're talking about, and this is his greatest trait, pass rushing ability, A+. The ability to play in the run game. He has a strong anchor, A+. Good grip strength, what I mean by the hands, A+. He sets the edge against the run, A+. And most of all, he holds the point of attack. Look at the game film, A+. And then explosion as a football player, A+. And then look at his athletic ability. The young man is outstanding. He runs a 4.5 40. He's got a 36-inch vertical. He's got a 6'54" cone drill. Can I say freakazoids? Please report to the playing field. Yes, Mr. Hutchinson is a freakazoid in 2021 this year with the Michigan Wolverines. But most of all, what I like about him, look at the production. See, when you look at good football players, to me personally, that's going into the NFL draft, I want to look at 2 things, your production and how you play in big games. His production this year is the defensive end spot, 58 tackles, 14 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, and the most important sack, he's got 16.5 tackles for loss. See, that's telling me you're getting your business done. Then look at the big games. Big-time players play big on big-time stages. Against Penn State, unbelievable. 7 tackles, 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble. And then a couple of weeks ago against Ohio State, the biggest game for Michigan in a long time. They had to get over that hump. They had to kill that dragon. And what did Mr. Hutchinson do? He had 3 sacks in that game. And clearly he was the best player on the field. And then look at this. Last week in the Big Ten championship game, when all eyes, the nation was looking at you against Iowa. 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, 4 tackles, and he was voted the Big Ten championship game MVP. The first time a defensive player has won that award. So Aidan Hutchison has really checked off all the boxes. He's an outstanding football player, and to me, coming into the 2022 NFL draft, he's my 3rd-rated overall prospect on my board. The guy's football player. And think about this. The history of Michigan, his dad had played under Bo Schembechler and was a pretty good football player. He was all Big Ten and Chris. This young man has got everything you want to be. And if you Jacksonville, you Detroit, or New York, you need a lot of help. But this guy playing the defensive end position, he can help your football team. And I think he'd be one of the most safest picks that's came in the National Football League in the last 20 years. Because look at him. He comes from pedigree. You know the guy's going to work at a high level. And most of all, his production. And think about this. The guy's a biology major at the University of Michigan. He's going to graduate. And you know what he was doing at the University of Michigan? He was studying to be a doctor. Aidan Hutchinson is your All-American football player. He played at an All-American school. He's an All-American. He might be the top pick in the 2022 NFL draft. He's got the smarts. At 6'6", 270 pounds, I love the kid. And I love what he's done at the University of Michigan. And look what he's done. He's been the main piece of Michigan playing in the college football playoffs this season. And think about all the other players. When you're looking at his game, I want to compare him to some of the greats that came into the league in the past years in the draft. I'm going to start with Ray Childress that played at Texas A&M, Houston Oilers. He became a good football player. Trace Armstrong, the University of Florida with the Chicago Bears. Randy White, who was the #1 overall selection in 1975. And you know what he done with the Dallas Cowboys out of Maryland. Steve Ettman, the University of Washington. Man, this young man reminds me a lot of him. Steve Ettman played the defensive tackle position, but he was havoc on the national championship team with the Huskies. Then Jared Allen, that went to Idaho State. Mr. Hutchison had some Jared Allen in his game. Then you got Dwight Freeney out of Syracuse. And then Joey Bosa at Ohio State that came out in 2016. That was a first-round pick. See, Mr. Hutchison game is similar to those gentlemen's games right there. And I think he's going to be a very high-level football player at the next level. So my final words about Aidan Hutchinson. Not only is he a great football player, but he's a great student. And like I said, he's your All-American from academics, from the school he played with, and his career is ending because the University of Michigan is going to be playing in the college football playoffs against the University of Georgia, and he's a Heisman Trophy finalist. So when I think about Aidan Hutchinson, I think about the great Bob Seger, who's from Detroit, Michigan. He had a song, that old time rock and roll. Just take those old records off the shelf. I sit and listen to them by myself. Today's music ain't got no soul, but I still like that old rock and roll because you know why? Aidan Hutchinson is still an old school time football player. And he's still representing the University of Michigan like Tom Harmon did in the 1940s. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy the Heisman Trophy ceremony because that young man is going to be there on Saturday night. I'd like to give special thanks to my producer, Mr. Logan Landers, for making it happen this morning here on 100 Yards of Football. Y'all have a blessed day.